Welcome back to Acceptable Casualties. Today we have another battle report. 1,500 points. We're going to bring you Tankovy for the Soviets and the Schwere PanzerKompanie for the Germans. We're going to do a continuation of our last game where we had the Penal Legion go in there and test the old German lines, and now both sides are reinforced with some tank companies. So we're going to go over the armies, and then I'll be right back. So here we have our 1,500 points of Tankovy. Up here we have the 1IC and a T-34-85, and then we have 2 5-tank platoons of T-34-85s, and then 1 7-tank platoon of T-34-76s, and then we brought in the IL-2 Sturmovik with limited air support for 1,500 points in total. Now we're going to go over and take a look at the Schwere PanzerKompanie. So here we have our 1,500 points of Schwere PanzerKompanie. We have the 1IC, it's the Tiger tank, and then we have two tank platoons of Tigers as well. We have a 3-tank platoon of Stugs, and then we have 2 of the quad flak half tracks. The Tiger A skill for the 1IC is what, man?
So we have Schnell and Clever Hands, which is pretty much a 2-up Stormtrooper move, and a reroll on bog checks. For this platoon, it'll be for the Fatherland, which is 2-up motivations, and then every shot counts, which is just rerolling any failed to hit.
Okay, so that's 1,500 of the Schwere PanzerKompanie. We'll be back for deployment and what game we rolled up in 1 second. So we are back here for deployment. We ended up rolling up free-for-all, which it's not going to be that good for me, I don't think. So down here, I put my objective on the road going out of town, and over here in the potato fields. Vin ended up placing his up behind the hill over there next to the river, and the other one is the other road going out of town. As far as deployment goes, I have the squad of T-34-85s up here with the 1IC tucked behind the apartment and the corner store. The other T-34-85s are tucked behind the hill over here, and then on the flank I have the T-34-76s looking to maybe try to push around the edge. Down here for the Germans, you got the 2 Tigers on here on the road. You have the other 2 Tigers over here in the field with the quad flaks behind them as support. The Stugs are sitting right here in the middle of the road, obviously looking like to control that bridge area. And down here we have the 1IC over here in the field, keeping an eye out on that side of the table. So the Germans look to have some firepower and had the whole area locked down pretty good. Vin won the roll-off, so he's going to get to go first. So we'll be back at the end of German turn 1. So we are back for the bottom of turn 1 for the Schwere PanzerKompanie. Wasn't the best turn. It was pretty comedic, actually. So everybody pretty much stayed over here, just a big Tiger and Stug parking lot. The 1IC ended up pushing up over here, and then he did his Stormtrooper move to move behind the woods after he shot. Firing, the 1IC shot at the 1 T-34-85 that he can get a beat on over there, but he missed twice. Stugs didn't really get a chance to fire at anything. They stayed put. The 1 Tiger right here rolled double 1s, shooting over at the T-34-76s, and then Vin rolled 4 more 1s with this group over there. But so 6 1s in a row, but they did get the re-roll for any misses, so they rolled again and they were able to get 2 more hits. So they popped one of the T-34s and they bailed the other one. So that's pretty much all that happened here at the top of turn 1 for the Germans. So we're going to come back in a second and see how the Soviets held up. So we are back here for the bottom of turn 1 for the Soviet Tankovy. The movement phase, we pushed up the T-34-76s around this forest over here. We pushed the T-34-85s up behind the house, try to get a little bit of cover before we make our move. And on this side, we pushed up this T-34-85 platoon, and we had our 1IC and another tank end up bogging on the bushes over there. And we also had down here the IL-2 ended up showing up out of reserves with 3 planes. We'll start with that, I guess. We had IL-2 come in. They weathered a bunch of anti-air fire. We had 3 planes come in, and they were able to take out one. And then when we shot the rockets, we were able to pop both of the anti-air guns. And then the Tiger, we ended up biffing on the firepower check, so we ended up just bailing him out. Over here, the T-34-85s, they fired 4 shots down into the Stugs, but we needed 6 to hit, so we really didn't get anything going on that. So we'll be back in a minute and give you guys the top of turn 2 for the Schwere PanzerKompanie. So we're back here for the top of turn 2 for the Germans. For the most part, they pushed up a little bit on this side, moved the one tank up, try to get a better shot. Same thing over here. The stormtrooper moves, they moved back, but they did push up to the top of the hill for their movement. Stug stayed still, and the one IC just kind of shimmied his way out to over there. Shooting phase, one IC, the Stugs, and this Tiger down here fired a whole bunch of shots into these guys. They were able to pop 2, and they were able to bail 1. So they did a little bit of damage on that side. The Tiger right here rolled up, and he was able to bail one of the T-34-85s, and over here, these 2 guys, when they went to the top of the hill right there, they had 2 clean shots. They hit on both, but then I rolled double 6s, so they just ended up bouncing. That's pretty much all that happened here on the top of turn 2, so we'll be back in 1 second to see Tankovy bottom 2. So we are back for Soviet Tankovy turn 2. These guys over here just stayed parked, didn't really move anywhere. The T-34-85 platoon right here decided to swing around the building, and we ended up rolling through the forest over there with the T-34-76's. Wide tracks kind of saved us. They weren't able to fire at anybody. The T-34-85s fired 5 shots, but because of hen and chicks, we needed 6s, so we weren't able to really hit anything there. Coming back up over here, we fired a couple shots down here into the one IC because he was in range, and we were able to bail him out, but that was really it. We had the plane come in, only one. We did the cannon shots on the Stugs. We were able to blow one up, and then we just missed on the other 2. So that was pretty much all that happened right now. I think we're going to start making our push next turn, maybe the turn after, see what we got going on. So we'll be back in a couple minutes for Schwere Panzer 3. We are back for Schwere Panzer turn 3. The Tiger parking lot continues to just bombard this Tankovy list. Nobody moved at all except for the one Tiger around here, so we can get some shots. As far as firing went, we had 4 Tiger shots going to these guys over here, and all they got was a bail. Up here, we had 3 shots at T-34-85s. They blew up 2 and bailed 1. Up over here, they were able to pop one more of the T-34-85s along that hedgerow, and then they were able to bail out one in the back, but we passed our motivation to stay in the fight. That's pretty much all that's happened so far here at the top of turn 3, so when we get back, we'll try to get some guys back in these tanks and maybe do something with the Soviets. So we are back for the bottom of Tankovy turn 3. Movement phase, we still parked the T-34-85s on this side, really didn't move them at all. We ended up swinging around the T-34-76s and went at the double, hopefully next turn to force these Tigers to either shoot their direction or give up their tail. We had the plane come in over here, and he was able to bail out both of the Stugs. They failed their morale, and they ended up leaving the table. Up top over here, we fired 5 shots down into the one IC, but we didn't hit on anything. We're slowly starting to push up here for turn 4 and turn 5. Hopefully we can have enough tanks left on the table to maybe make a play at some of these Tigers and put some pressure on them. So we'll be back in a second for the top of Schwere Panzer turn 4. So we're back here for top turn 4 for the Schwere Panzers. With stormtrooper moves, they pushed up over here, and they moved up the fields a little bit during the movement phase. They fired a couple shots off, but missed at the T-34-76s that were over there. The Tigers over here, they just turned their turrets and opened up. They ended up killing 3, and that forced a morale check, and they ended up leaving the table, the 3 remaining tanks. Over here on this end, the one IC fired a shot, and he ended up blowing up one of the T-34-85s in the back row over there, and then did his stormtrooper move, and then pushed up along those fields right there. That's pretty much all that happened on this turn for top of turn 4. So we'll be back in the second for Tankovy bottom 4. So we're here for bottom turn 4 for the Tankovy. We stayed parked over there, didn't do anything. We stayed parked over here at T-3485s, and then we brought our Sturmovik in here. He was able to take out one of the Tigers, and then we had a bunch of shots come down from the T-3485s, and that ended up getting a bail for this Tiger as well. Over on this side, we fired 3 shots down here into the one IC, but nothing hit us again this turn. I think probably by the end of next turn, I don't know if we're gonna have enough of tanks left on the table to really make a push at anything. Just the way, I mean, we're just going into a hail of gunfire now from these Tigers if we come out in the open, so it's gonna get ugly soon. So we're gonna start top of turn 5 for the Germans. So we are back for top of turn 5 for the Germans. The one IC ended up staying still over here, and he pumped 2 shots down range, but missed both of them. The Tiger platoon that was in the middle, they pushed up around the outside of the house, trying to get rear armor on those T-3485s. They fired 1 shot and ended up missing. And down here, the Tiger wasn't able to get back into the tank. He still bailed out. So lucky for the Soviets, but we'll see if that luck's going to end up paying off. So we'll be back in a minute for bottom of Tankovy turn 5. So we are back for Tankovy bottom of 5. The platoon here decided to stay still and fire their 4 shots into the one IC, and we were able to blow them up and get them out of the game. So that was a plus. We'll see if we can make that pay off later. Over here, the T-3485s fired 6 shots into the bailed out tank down here, going to side armor. We had 2 hits, and we were able to get 1 hit on the side armor because the turret was turned, but Vin made both of his saves, so we weren't able to knock that one out of the game. The plane stayed off the table at this point, so we're looking to see if we can hang in there maybe one more turn and get these Tigers to retreat off the table. So we'll be back for turn 6, Germans. So we are back for top 6 for the Germans. Down here, the Tiger was able to jump back into the tank and fire a couple of shots off, and he blew up one of the T-3485s. The platoon in the middle of the table pushed up around the hotel, and they repositioned a little bit. They were able to fire and bail out one of the tanks on this side and bail out another tank on that side. Right now, Soviets better do something next turn, or I think this might be game over. So we'll be back for bottom of turn 6 for the Tankovy. So we're back here for Tankovy bottom of turn 6. In the movement phase, we pulled the one IC up around over here to get a better position to take some side shots on these guys. T-3485s just stayed still, hoping to plug away, and we had the Sturmovik end up coming in. So shooting phase, everybody missed. We rolled a 2 with our rockets down here. We missed every shot with the T-3485 shooting into this Tiger. And then we missed all 3 shots shooting in the side armor on these Tigers. So the dice gods apparently want this one to go in favor of the Germans. Vin, the game is in your hands, top of turn 7. So top of turn 7, I don't really know how to explain what's going on right now. This has just been absolutely ridiculous. So this Tiger and the top Tiger, I mean the bottom Tiger right there, both fired into here. Vin was able to blow up the one, and then due to concealment from the side because of that flaming wreck right there, Vin's typical roll of a 3 ended up not working out because he needed a 4 because of that hardcover right there. So for some reason, that guy is still alive at this point. Over here, Vin fired a couple shots in there, and he was able to blow up one tank, and then the other one, I ended up getting a chance. I bounced it. I rolled a 6, and pretty much saved my bacon on that one. So now we're gonna go bottom of turn 7 and see what happens here. Man, Tankovy is not looking good. We're gonna have a company morale check too. I gotta make right now. So actually, let me roll that before we get going. So we need a 4 up. There we go.
God.
For Stalin, bottom 7. So we're back here for bottom of turn 7 for the Soviets. Things went pretty well here for us. So we had the one IC end up firing a couple shots in here, and he's able to blow up one of the Tigers. The squad leader left over here for the T-34-85s. He fired over there as well, and he pretty much just bounced 2 shots, nothing going on. But we got lucky again. It's the second turn in a row with 1 die. We had the Sturmovik come in, and he was able to drop some rockets again and blow up the tank. That was pretty much giving us the win. No one IC on the table. Company command tests. Can't do it because nobody's out there. So somehow the Russians ended up pulling this one off. We'll be back in a second to do a recap of this game. I mean, this is just bad dice all over the place. But yeah, like I said, we'll go over that in a minute. We'll be right back. So we are back for the end of the game recap for this just horrible game. I don't think I've seen 2 armies not want to win.
Not want to
I mean, there was opportunities left and right for this game to end on multiple occasions. I mean, across the board, this T-34-85 company, I mean, they just could not get over the bushes, get back in their tanks on bog. I mean, it was just absolutely terrible. And they just couldn't take out one tank for it felt like an age. And then over here, these T-34-85, so many opportunities to put these guys out of their misery early, and they just blew it consistently. 76s, they kind of did what I thought they were going to do. I mean, I wanted to use them to push up that flank and kind of swing around over here, put pressure on these Tigers to either turn and deal with them or ignore them and potentially give up some side and rear armor shots. For me, the Sturmovik, this is the second game in a row where this plane's panned out pretty well for me. I mean, they were just popping Tigers left and right. Those Stugs they took out. I mean, they took out the anti-air. It was awesome. But I mean, that plane for me, it's been feast or famine every time I put it on the table. And the past couple games, it's done pretty well. I mean, for the Germans, I mean, when you get that Tiger parking lot along the back end of the table and you have to move your tanks up to meet them, I mean, you're just walking into a hail of fire. I mean, you see all the smoke going across the table right now. I mean, those Tigers put in some work. The Stugs not as much, but I mean, it was definitely the Tigers that did it. I think it just changed late game was the Russians passing some of those motivation checks and getting back in their tanks and just being able to hang in there a little bit later. And the Tigers, I mean, you only got 5 of them on the table, so every one you lose definitely makes a pretty big difference. But yeah, I think this game, it came down to terrible dice when both of us needed it, because this game could have ended in turn 4 or 5. I think if some of these shots would have went the way they should have gone. This is more about I think Vin letting me win at this point with his bad dice, but it could easily have been me letting Vin win as well, just because there was like 2 turns in there where I just totally dropped the ball, same as him. But I think MVP, I know from my side, it's got to be the Sturmovik. I mean, this thing just came in and just did work the entire game. Just the body count alone for that, I think, was up to like 6 or 7 tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 3 Stugs and then 4 Tigers.
Yeah. And then the anti-air as well. Yeah. It was phenomenal. And I mean, it was doing it on like 1 and 2 dice. It was still coming in on the table. So it was pretty good. I don't know, Vin, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd definitely say the plane was the big one. My big one was the last Tiger that you took out.
Oh, down here in the corner.
That thing I think took out.
Yeah, he owned that flank. I mean, he really did. Yeah, I mean, he got bailed out, jumped back in. I mean, like I said, he took out, I think, like 3 of those T-34-85s, as well as I think like 2 or 3 the 76s as well. Like I said, overall, fun game, frustrating game, but it got to the point where frustration reaches just being completely comical, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So we're just going to wrap it up here. Thanks for watching. And like I said, we'll be back in a couple of days, post up another one.